you ever felt it? The cold, sharp sting of someone hating you for absolutely no reason. You didn't wrong them. You didn't compete unfairly. You didn't even cross their path in a meaningful way. And yet there it is, resentment, judgment, bitterness aimed squarely at you. It's confusing, it's frustrating, and if you let it, it can shake the very ground beneath your confidence. But here's the thing most people never realize. Their hate is not about you. Not really. It's never about you. That fire they throw at you, it's a reflection, a shadow cast from within them. And if you understand why people despise you without cause, not only can you protect yourself, you can rise higher, sharper, and stronger than ever before. Because when you know the truth about people who hate without reason, you gain a superpower. You learn how to see through the smoke, recognize the real weaknesses hiding behind the mask of their anger, and step into a space where their negativity cannot touch you. In the next half hour, we're going to pull back the curtain. You're going to see the patterns, the traits, the hidden motives that drive this irrational hate. And by the end, you won't just understand it. You'll be armed with the insight to turn their wasted energy against them, while you continue moving forward, unstoppable. Let's start with something that happens to all of us at some point. Someone criticizes you, someone judges you, someone throws words at you that sting, and your first instinct is to wonder, why? What did I do to deserve this? But here's the truth that most people don't see. Often, it's not about what you did. In fact, it has almost nothing to do with you at all. What you're witnessing is someone's insecurity wearing a mask. Their criticism, their harsh words, their sudden coldness, it's a reflection of what's going on inside them, not a reflection of your value or your character. Think about it for a moment. People who feel threatened by you, people who are quietly jealous of your progress, your confidence, your success, often try to tear it down because they can't face the fear within themselves. You may notice it at work. A colleague who constantly finds fault with your ideas, nitpicking at every detail. Or in social circles, someone who smiles to your face but undermines you behind the scenes. The truth is, their criticism is just a cover for their fear, their self-doubt, their own feeling of inadequacy. And the moment you realize that, everything changes. Insecurity is an interesting thing. It's sneaky. It doesn't announce itself. It hides behind loud opinions, judgmental remarks, or sarcastic comments. It disguises itself as logic, as reason, as concern, but when you look closer, it's nothing but fear trying to make itself look like power. And it's exhausting to deal with if you don't understand it, because when someone lashes out at you from a place of insecurity, it's not just an attack, it's a test. They're trying to see if you'll crumble under their words, if their fear can infect your confidence. And you know what? Most people fail this test. They take it personally. They start questioning themselves, doubting their worth, second-guessing their choices, and before they know it, someone else's insecurity has managed to control how they feel about themselves. But here's the thing, you don't have to fall into that trap. Once you recognize that criticism rooted in hatred or envy is a reflection of someone's insecurity, you can stop giving it power over you. You can step back and observe without reacting. You can hear the words and see the fear behind them, and suddenly their judgment becomes meaningless. It's like someone throwing rocks at a mountain. The mountain doesn't move. The rocks bounce off. That's what your confidence needs to feel like when confronted with insecurity masked as criticism. And let's be honest, it's everywhere. On social media, in professional settings, even in family gatherings. Someone's jealousy of your achievements, your energy, your confidence, your natural charisma, they can't tolerate it. So they disguise it as advice, as warnings, as helpful criticism, when in reality, they're just trying to tear you down to make themselves feel taller. They don't want to see you shine because it reminds them of what they haven't accomplished. And if you internalize their words, if you allow them to shake your sense of self, they win. But here's the empowering part. Understanding this flips the script entirely. When you know that their hate is insecurity in disguise, you stop seeing it as a personal attack. You start seeing it as a mirror of their own struggles. You start to understand that someone who constantly criticizes without reason is often drowning in self-doubt themselves. Their harshness is not about you. It's a loud, desperate scream from someone trapped in their own fears. And when you realize that, a weight lifts off your shoulders. You no longer need to fight to prove your worth to them because their opinion is no longer a valid measure of yours. In fact, insecurity masquerading as criticism can be a gift if you look at it correctly. It teaches you lessons about patience, resilience, and self-awareness. It forces you to stand firm in who you are regardless of what others say. It tests your confidence, but it also gives you the opportunity to prove to yourself that you are stronger than their negativity. Every time someone attacks you out of insecurity, you get to practice remaining unshaken. You get to practice turning their fear into your fuel. You get to practice becoming unbreakable. The key is perspective. Every insult, every passive-aggressive remark, every backhanded comment is a window into their mind. They're revealing exactly what they're struggling with, what they fear, what they feel inadequate about. And instead of taking it personally, you can take it as insight, a reminder of the kind of people to invest your energy in and the kind of energy you need to shield yourself from. You can step away from the toxicity, maintain your dignity, and keep moving forward. So the next time someone hates you or criticizes you for no reason, pause and reflect. Ask yourself, what does this reveal about them, not me? Behind every unnecessary attack, behind every baseless criticism, there's a story of fear, envy, and insecurity. And the more you understand that, the more untouchable you become. You stop absorbing negativity. You stop shrinking to make someone else feel bigger. You stand taller, stronger, unshakable. In the end, the lesson is simple but powerful. Don't fight someone else's insecurity. Don't let it dictate your mood, your choices, or your confidence. Recognize it, understand it, and rise above it. Because when you do, you're no longer a target. You're a force. And people who hate for no reason, they'll eventually see that their attempts to tear you down were powerless against someone who knows their own worth. Have you ever noticed how some people seem to act out of nowhere, lashing out, criticizing, or even hating without any logical reason? You look at their behavior and think, why are they like this? What's wrong with them? The truth is simpler than you think. They often lack self-awareness. And when someone lacks self-awareness, their emotions, their fears, their biases, they all come spilling out in the form of anger, resentment, or judgment. Self-awareness is the ability to understand your own thoughts, emotions, and behaviors, and to recognize how they affect others. When someone doesn't have it, they're essentially walking through life blindfolded, swinging at anyone who happens to be nearby. And the people who get hit first are usually those who show confidence, clarity, or strength, the qualities they themselves wish they had, but have no clue how to cultivate. Think about the people who constantly judge or criticize you without cause. Often they don't even realize what they're doing. Their comments, their backhanded remarks, their negative energy, it's automatic. They don't pause to consider the impact of their words. They don't step back to reflect on their own motives or the feelings of the person they're targeting. They're acting purely on impulse, driven by confusion, envy, or unresolved internal conflict. And that's why it can feel so relentless. It's not personal, but it can feel devastating if you don't know how to see through it. The lack of self-awareness is dangerous because it disguises itself as confidence or authority. Someone might seem loud, opinionated, and in control, but in reality they are disconnected from themselves. They don't know why they feel threatened, why they lash out, or why they spread negativity. And because they don't understand themselves, they project chaos onto the world around them. You become a mirror for their unresolved issues, a target for their confusion and frustration. This is why people who hate for no reason can feel unpredictable. One day they might act like a friend, the next they might attack you for reasons you can't even identify. Their lack of self-awareness means they are constantly reacting, not thinking. They respond to external stimuli without considering the bigger picture. And their reactions are rarely rational. They're emotional, raw, and sometimes cruel. But here's the empowering truth. When you understand that their actions stem from self-ignorance, you stop taking it personally. You stop trying to fix them, explain yourself, or win their approval. Their judgments are not a reflection of your worth. They're a reflection of their internal chaos. And when you see that clearly, you reclaim your power. You recognize that their negativity is a storm that has nothing to do with your life or your choices. Lack of self-awareness also makes people predictable in their unpredictability. Once you understand the patterns, once you see the signs, you can anticipate their reactions and protect your energy. For instance, someone who reacts defensively when complimented, or someone who consistently downplays your achievements, is likely projecting their insecurities because they haven't taken the time to reflect on themselves. They haven't asked, Why am I threatened? Why am I angry? What is this really about? And because they haven't, they will continue to lash out at anyone who shines a light on what they've neglected within themselves. It's important to understand that this isn't about revenge or getting back at them. It's about strategy and self-preservation. You can't change someone who doesn't understand themselves. You can't force clarity into a mind that hasn't developed the tools to see itself. But you can change how you respond. You can develop self-awareness for yourself. You can recognize your triggers, manage your emotions, and protect your energy. In doing so, you become untouchable to the chaos others try to bring into your life. There's also a lesson here about empathy, not the kind that excuses bad behavior, but the kind that gives you insight. Understanding that someone's irrational hatred often comes from a lack of self-awareness allows you to approach situations with calm rather than anger. It allows you to respond with logic instead of reaction. You can smile when they criticize, knowing that their words are more about their confusion than your reality. You can move forward without letting their chaos become your cage. History and human behavior are filled with examples of people who acted destructively because they never looked inward. Leaders, colleagues, friends, even family members have made decisions rooted in ignorance of themselves. They lash out, create conflict, and spread negativity, all because they haven't cultivated the basic understanding of who they are. And those of us who recognize the signs of this self-unawareness can protect ourselves, anticipate the behavior, and maintain clarity in the face of their storms. Ultimately, lack of self-awareness is a choice, or rather, a failure to choose reflection over reaction. Some people never pause to examine their own hearts, their own motives, their own fears, and when you encounter them, it can feel unfair, confusing, and relentless. But here's the key takeaway: your responsibility is not to fix them. Your responsibility is to maintain your clarity, protect your confidence, and stay on your path. The more you understand that their hatred is a product of their own blindness, the more unstoppable you become. When you live with self-awareness, you rise above. You recognize the difference between constructive feedback and baseless criticism. You don't let someone else's chaos dictate your mood, your choices, or your energy. And the more you cultivate it, the less power irrational haters have over your life. They may try to bring you down, but their arrows will bounce off because your foundation is built on understanding, insight, and inner strength. So the next time someone hates you for no reason, pause and reflect, not on their words, but on the truth behind them. Ask yourself, what does this reveal about them, not me? Behind every irrational act, behind every baseless criticism, there is a person blind to themselves, struggling with confusion and fear. And once you see it that way, once you understand the role of self-awareness in human behavior, you become untouchable. You no longer react, you respond. You no longer shrink, you expand. You no longer fear their judgment, you thrive in your own clarity and strength. And that is power. True, unshakable, unstoppable power. Have you ever noticed that some people seem to hate you not because of anything you did, but because of everything they haven't done? Their criticism, their judgment, their unexplainable hostility often isn't about you, it's about them. It's about the dreams they gave up on, the chances they didn't take, the goals they abandoned, and the life they feel they should have lived but never did. What they throw at you is not just malice, it's projection. They see in you what they wanted to be, what they wanted to achieve, and what they failed to become. And instead of facing that truth within themselves, they attack it in someone else. Projection is a fascinating human phenomenon. Psychologists talk about it as a defense mechanism, a way to deal with feelings of guilt, inadequacy, or disappointment by attributing them to someone else. In simpler terms, it's like carrying a heavy backpack full of regrets and shaking it off on the nearest person who reminds you of what you've lost or failed to become. And unfortunately, sometimes that person is you. Maybe you pursued a dream they abandoned. Maybe you speak confidently about something they've always wanted to master. Maybe you simply live authentically in a way that shines a light on their own compromises. And suddenly, without warning, they become your critic, your doubter, your hater. It's easy to take this personally. It's easy to feel wounded, confused, even angry. Why are they attacking me, you might ask? But when you understand the psychology behind it, you realize that you've just become a mirror. They are not angry at your achievements. They are angry at the reflection of their own unfulfilled potential. And that realization is liberating, because once you see it, their words lose their power. You begin to recognize that the attacks aren't about you, they're a projection of their failures and regrets. Think about people you've encountered in your life, those who seem constantly bitter or envious without a tangible reason. Often, these are people who have struggled to follow their own path. They might have settled for something safe, given up on a dream because it felt too risky, or failed to commit to the hard work necessary to achieve their goals. Instead of accepting the discomfort of those choices, they externalize it. They say, "You're arrogant, you're reckless," or "You think you're better than me," when in reality, they're confronting the parts of themselves that they're unwilling or unable to face. They attack you because your existence reminds them of the path they didn't take. And here's the hard truth. Projection can be relentless because it's fueled by emotion, not logic. People who project their failures don't pause to consider fairness or accuracy. They don't think about your intentions or your struggles. All they see is a reflection of themselves in the world, someone living a life they wanted but didn't claim, and that reflection scares them. So they lash out, they spread negativity, they judge, they gossip, and sometimes they even try to sabotage. It's a defense mechanism in its rawest, most primal form. The good news is that projection can also be a guide. It's a signpost pointing toward your own strengths. If someone reacts negatively to your confidence, your achievements, or your forward momentum, that's a confirmation you're moving in a direction they cannot or have not mastered. You're doing something right. You're hitting marks they wish they could. Their attempts to bring you down are ironically proof of your impact. They are living examples of how someone else's fear, regret, or failure can't stop you if you refuse to internalize it. When faced with projection, the key is self-awareness and emotional distance. Recognize the patterns. Observe their behavior without absorbing it. Understand that their hate is about what they haven't done, not what you've done. This is powerful because it allows you to respond differently. Instead of reacting with defensiveness or anger, you respond with calm, confidence, and focus. You don't let their regrets hijack your day, your decisions, or your mindset. You see it, you understand it, and you let it pass, like rain on a shield. Projection also reminds us that everyone carries unseen baggage. It's tempting to get angry at people for lashing out, to feel wronged or victimized. But if you look closer, their attacks are cries for help in the most misguided way possible. They are wrestling with themselves, and instead of looking inward, they look outward. Recognizing this doesn't mean excusing their behavior, but it does mean you stop giving it power. You stop letting someone else's failures dictate how you feel about your successes. History and life are filled with examples of projection in action. Great thinkers, innovators, and leaders were often attacked by people who couldn't bear to see them succeed. Athletes are criticized by those who never trained as hard. Artists are ridiculed by those who never dared to create. Entrepreneurs are doubted by those who never took the risk. And in every case, the attack was not about the achiever. It was about the insecurities, regrets, and unrealized potential of the observer. This is not coincidence, it's human nature, and understanding it arms you with the perspective to remain focused, resilient, and unshakable. Ultimately, the lesson here is profound. People who hate you for no reason are often battling battles you can't see. They project their failures and regrets onto you because facing those truths within themselves is too painful. But their projections don't have to define you, limit you, or slow your progress. Recognize it, don't internalize it, and continue moving forward. Use their negativity as fuel, not weight. Let it remain. You of what you're doing right, of how you are pursuing your life with clarity and courage while they remain trapped by what they haven't done. And one last thing, when you rise above projection, you don't just survive it, you thrive. You become someone who understands the inner workings of human behavior, someone who can spot insecurity, envy, and regret from a mile away, someone who can navigate conflict without losing peace. You become untouchable, not because the world changes, but because you do. Their hate loses its sting. Their judgments lose their grip. Their projections, no matter how harsh, bounce off the foundation of your self-awareness, resilience, and determination. In the end, remember this: their failures are theirs, not yours. Their regrets are theirs, not yours. Their inability to face themselves is theirs, not yours. And the more clearly you see that, the freer, stronger, and more unstoppable you become. You are not the reflection of anyone else's life. You are the architect of your own. Some people don't hate you just because they're insecure or bitter about their failures. Sometimes their hatred stems from a deeper need, a need for control, a need to dominate, a need to assert power over those around them. And make no mistake, this isn't always obvious. It's not always loud or overt. Sometimes it's subtle, almost invisible, a constant effort to manipulate, influence, or undermine. But it's real, and it's dangerous if you don't recognize it. People driven by control don't react to your achievements the way someone insecure might. Insecurity is fear-based, control is strategic. Their anger, their disdain, their criticism, these are all tools in a calculated effort to establish dominance. They want to set the rules, dictate the narrative, and make others feel small so that they themselves feel big. And when you refuse to play by their rules, when you refuse to bow to their narrative, they lash out. They hate not because of who you are, but because you're not theirs to control. Think about it. How many times have you encountered someone who constantly tries to assert authority over you, even when it isn't theirs to wield? Maybe it's a colleague who insists on dismissing your ideas in meetings, a friend who tries to steer your decisions, or even a family member who expects you to conform to their standards. Their goal is simple: to control the environment so they feel safe, powerful, or superior. And when they can't, when they encounter someone who refuses to be manipulated, that's when the hate surfaces. People who crave control are often threatened by independence. They fear anyone who doesn't follow their expectations, anyone who refuses to play by their rules, anyone who stands tall in their own truth. Your confidence, your ambition, your authenticity, they see these qualities as a challenge to their authority. And instead of reflecting, instead of understanding that your life is your own, they lash out, they attack, they belittle. They criticize, and sometimes they even try to sabotage. This is not personal. It's about their desperate need to feel dominant in a world that feels uncontrollable to them. Control-driven people also use fear as a weapon. They manipulate, intimidate, and pressure others to maintain their illusion of power. They thrive in environments where others hesitate, doubt themselves, or seek approval. But the moment they meet someone unshakable, someone unwilling to be dictated to, their frustration turns into hatred. And that hatred can be persistent, relentless, and draining if you don't recognize it for what it is. Understanding this dynamic is crucial because it allows you to respond differently. You don't fight control with control, you fight it with clarity, boundaries, and self-possession. You recognize that their attempts to dominate are a reflection of their fear, not your weakness. When someone is trying to control you, it's not about your competence, your integrity, or your choices. It's about their need to feel in command. And once you see that, their power over you dissolves. You stop reacting. You stop shrinking. You stop playing their game. History is full of examples of people who thrived in the face of control-driven opposition. Leaders, visionaries, and innovators were often targeted by those who wanted to dictate their path, control their influence, or maintain their own status. The difference between success and stagnation wasn't just talent, it was the ability to recognize when someone was trying to control them and refuse to submit. They understood that control-driven hate is a reflection of weakness, not strength, and they used it as fuel rather than allowing it to paralyze them. Control-driven people are predictable once you understand the patterns. They often insist on being right, constantly redirect conversations to serve their agenda, or subtly undermine others' confidence to maintain superiority. They may present it as concern, guidance, or even advice, but underneath, it's about dominance. And while this can feel suffocating, recognizing it gives you power. Once you identify their tactics, you can maintain boundaries, protect your energy, and continue moving forward without getting trapped in their game. Responding effectively requires discipline and self-confidence. You cannot change someone who is fixated on control. You can only change how you respond. You can refuse to internalize their attacks, refuse to doubt your path, and refuse to let their hunger for dominance dictate your actions. When you do, you step out of their arena entirely. You become untouchable because you are operating from self-possession rather than reaction. Their need for control loses its grip because you are no longer a participant in their drama. Another important aspect to understand is that people who crave dominance often try to create dependency. They want others to rely on them, seek their approval, or feel powerless without their guidance. Recognizing this dynamic is a game changer. Once you see it, you can break free. You stop seeking validation from people who can never provide it. You stop allowing others to dictate your decisions. And in doing so, you reclaim the freedom that they never intended to give you. Ultimately, the lesson here is about boundaries, self-confidence, and awareness. People who hate or oppose you because of control are not a reflection of your abilities. They are a reflection of their fear and desire to dominate. And when you refuse to let their need control your life, when you maintain your focus, integrity, and independence, you become immune to their hate. You move forward with clarity, you thrive with purpose, and you operate in a space they can never touch. In the end, remember this. People who seek control are often the most insecure, the most fearful, and the most fragile despite appearances. Their attacks, their attempts to dominate, their hatred, it's all a mask for what they can't face within themselves. And the more you understand that, the stronger you become. You rise above, untouchable, unstoppable, and entirely free. Their power over you exists only if you allow it, and once you realize that, you are untouchable. Some people hate without reason, and when you try to make sense of it, it can feel like the world itself is being unfair. But the reality is far simpler than you think. Their hatred isn't about you. It's about their inability to handle life with emotional maturity or resilience. They lack the inner tools to process disappointment, jealousy, or frustration, so instead of managing their emotions constructively, they lash out at anyone nearby. And often, that target is you. Emotional maturity is more than just staying calm. It's the ability to understand your feelings, control your reactions, and navigate life without letting impulses dictate your behavior. Resilience is the capacity to bounce back from setbacks, to face challenges without falling apart. When people lack these qualities, the result is chaos. Not in their own lives only, but in the lives of those around them. Their hate becomes a storm, unpredictable and relentless, because they are not equipped to deal with their internal struggles in a healthy way. Think about the people you've encountered who seem to attack for no reason. They overreact to small slights, they twist words, and they escalate situations unnecessarily. They may criticize your accomplishments, dismiss your opinions, or even try to sabotage your progress. At first, it's tempting to get angry or confused. You ask yourself, why are they like this? What did I do? But the truth is, they are not operating from logic or fairness. They are operating from fear, insecurity, and emotional fragility. Their hate is a symptom of their inability to regulate themselves. When someone lacks emotional maturity, they see the world in extremes. Success for someone else becomes a threat rather than an inspiration. A differing opinion becomes an attack rather than a perspective. A personal victory becomes a reason to criticize rather than celebrate. They live in a constant state of reactivity, and anyone around them becomes collateral damage. Their hate isn't a reflection of your worth. It's a reflection of their inability to deal with reality in a measured, responsible way. Resilience plays a critical role here as well. People who are resilient don't let others' opinions shake them. They face criticism, setbacks, and challenges without falling apart. Those who lack resilience, however, often respond with disproportionate anger, jealousy, or contempt. When they see someone thriving while they struggle, instead of reflecting, learning, or improving, they lash out. They attempt to bring others down to feel a sense of control over their own failure. And this is where irrational hate is born. The danger of encountering someone like this is that it can feel personal, when in fact it is deeply impersonal. They lash out at the world because they cannot handle their own emotions. They project their pain outward because they haven't developed the inner strength to process it internally. And if you don't understand this, you can start to question yourself, second-guess your decisions, or even let their negativity derail your focus. But once you see it clear, a powerful shift occurs. Their hate no longer has the power to touch you. One of the most liberating truths about people who lack emotional maturity and resilience is that their behavior is predictable. They escalate when confronted, blame others when things go wrong, and rarely take responsibility for their actions. They are prone to mood swings, overreactions, and impulsive attacks. Once you recognize this pattern, you can prepare for it, protect your energy, and maintain your composure. You no longer need to fight them on their terms. You rise above by staying grounded in your own emotional intelligence. History and life are filled with examples of this dynamic. Great leaders, innovators, and achievers have often faced irrational criticism and hatred from those who could not manage their own emotions. The difference between those who succeed and those who falter is their ability to remain resilient, to maintain their composure, and to keep moving forward despite the chaos around them. Emotional immaturity cannot touch someone who knows their worth and refuses to let others define it. Understanding this gives you a superpower, the ability to respond with grace instead of reaction, with strategy instead of anger, with confidence instead of doubt. When someone attacks you out of emotional weakness, you don't need to fight back. You simply stay unshakable. You observe, you analyze, and you continue moving forward. Their hate may be loud, persistent, and confusing, but it no longer has the capacity to derail your focus or diminish your value. Furthermore, recognizing this pattern allows you to set boundaries without guilt. You understand that their behavior is a reflection of them, not you. You realize that you don't need to seek their approval, explain yourself to them, or internalize their attacks. You can create emotional distance, protect your energy, and maintain your path toward growth and success. This is not avoidance, it's strategy, it's power, it's resilience in action. The key lesson here is simple but profound. People who hate for no reason often do so because they cannot handle life's challenges with maturity or resilience. Their attacks are a reflection of their inner chaos, not your character. And when you grasp this, you are no longer vulnerable to their negativity. You can observe without absorbing. You can rise above without retaliation. You can continue building your life, your confidence, and your success while they remain trapped in their emotional turbulence. Ultimately, developing your own emotional maturity and resilience turns their hate into fuel. Their attacks become a mirror showing you what not to be. Their chaos becomes a reminder of your strength. Their inability to navigate life with grace becomes a benchmark for your own growth. You become unshakable not by fighting them, but by mastering yourself. And that mastery creates a force field around you that no irrational hate can penetrate. In the end, remember this. Their lack of maturity and resilience is theirs, not yours. Their inability to process emotions healthily is theirs, not yours. Their hatred is a symptom of their weaknesses, not a reflection of your value. And the more clearly you see this, the stronger, freer, and more unstoppable you become. You rise above because you refuse to let their chaos define your life. You thrive because your emotional strength is untouchable. You win because you are resilient where they are reactive, and mature where they are impulsive. That is the ultimate power. So, what do we do with all of this? How do we handle the people who hate us for no reason, the ones who criticize, belittle, or try to hold us back? The answer is simple, yet profound. We rise above. We don't fight their chaos. We refuse to let it touch us. We don't shrink to make them comfortable. We expand into the strength they wish they had. We don't internalize their bitterness. We see it for what it truly is, a reflection of their fear, their failures, their need for control, and their inability to manage their own emotions. Every insult, every judgment, every act of hatred aimed at you is not a measure of your worth. It's a window into the weaknesses of others. And once you understand that, a transformation happens. You stop reacting, you stop doubting yourself, you stop trying to prove your value to people who cannot see it. Their energy no longer dictates your mood, your confidence, or your path. Instead, you take it all, learn from it, and let it fuel your rise. Here's the ultimate truth. Life will always have people who try to pull you down, people who are threatened by your light, people who project their insecurities and failures onto you, but your power comes from one place, within yourself, your clarity, your confidence, your resilience, your emotional maturity. These are shields no hate can penetrate. No words, no judgments, no attempts at control, no projection of regrets can touch the person who knows their own worth and refuses to be shaken. So the next time someone hates you for no reason, don't question yourself. Don't engage in their chaos. Don't allow their fear, envy, or weakness to define you. Instead, stand taller, walk stronger, shine brighter, because while they are trapped in their own storms, you are moving forward, unstoppable, untouchable, and unshakable. Remember this, their hatred is temporary. Your strength is permanent. Their fear is loud, your courage is louder. And the life you are building, that is yours, and no one can take it from you. Let this be your commitment to rise above every act of baseless hate, to remain unshakable in the face of insecurity, control, projection, or weakness, and to live a life so authentic, so powerful, and so resilient that nothing and no one can dim your light. Because at the end of the day, the most dangerous thing you can be to those who hate for no reason is yourself. Free, confident, and unstoppable.